All right, guys, so we're looking section 7.1, so starting the tax chapter. Today we're going to look at different tax schedules and then computing federal income taxes using the tax tables as well. If you look through the tax booklet I gave you, it starts off with like I think $1,000 for your income for the year, and it goes all the way up to like $99,999. So if you make $100,000 or more, you cannot use those tax tables that are in the booklet. There's another tax schedule that you have to use, which we'll look at today. Okay, but we will use those tax booklets a lot in this chapter. How many of you filed taxes before? Just a couple of you? Did you do it yourself? Did you do it online? Did you have you did it online yourself, like TurboTax or something? What did you do? H&R Block had them do it? Okay. Okay, but you did them yourself online. Mom, dad, somebody helped you? Okay. But you did it at home on your computer kind of thing. Okay. Those things are really nice though, because like I've always done my own taxes and they literally ask you like a million questions and tell you how to do it. Okay. But honestly, the first time I went through and taught this chapter, like even though I've done my taxes my entire life, taught this chapter, I'm like, oh, that's why they ask those questions. Like it makes sense more once I've learned, like went through this chapter. So hopefully it makes more sense for you guys, especially the two of you who've actually done it before. The rest of you, you guys have worked before, right? Yes? So did your parents just do it for you? Or you just never filed them and no one's come after you? Okay, so, well, who pays taxes? Everyone. Everybody. Everyone pays taxes. Okay? So imagine how much money it takes to run your city, your state, your federal government. Where does the money come from for police force, the space program, military defense, national security, health research, social programs, and other government programs? That's why you pay taxes. So your taxes go to fund all of that stuff. Okay? So there are three different types of taxes that we're going to look at. The first one is property taxes. You guys just went through and did your whole housing project. Hopefully you submitted it last night. I sent out the remind at 10:30 last night to hopefully remind you last minute slackers to make sure you do it. You guys bought houses, right? And I made you look up your taxes. Those are property taxes. They are based on the value of the property that you own. So if you rent an apartment, do you pay property taxes? No. But if you own your own home, then yes, you will pay property taxes. And again, we do those in escrow, right? They get added on to your monthly payment that you pay your bank every month. Okay, so those vary depending on if I live in a $300,000 house, if I live in a $50,000 house. Obviously, your taxes vary a lot there, depending on how much your house is worth. What are sales tax? Yeah, you guys go to the store, right? You guys buy stuff. Does it ever cost exactly what the price says it is? And if it's food, they don't tax food. But yeah, it's collected based on the value of the items you are purchasing. So if I go and buy something that costs, $1.50, my tax is pretty small. Versus if I buy something that costs like $1,000, I'm going to pay a lot more tax. That's something little kids never get, right? You go to the store with my kids and they're like, oh, I have $1. That costs 99 cents. I have enough money. No, technically, no, you don't. It's like there's tax. Then I have to try to explain what tax is to my 8-year-old. Doesn't go over so well. All right, and then what are income taxes? Yeah, taxes on your income, how much money you're making. Collected based on the amount of taxable income you earn. Now notice it says taxable income. Can you make money that they don't tax? Yeah. Waitresses, they actually do tax if you claim it. Now, when I was a waitress when I was younger, I didn't have to claim or write down or let the government know how much I made in tips, so I didn't get taxed on that. I was fortunate and worked at a place that didn't require that. But a lot of places would make you write that down and the government would take taxes on it. Yep. Welcome to America. But at the same time, think about your police force. Where's the money coming from them? How would you feel if we did not have a police force? I mean, think about that. I mean,
My personal bias.
you know what I mean? Like people that keep us safe, hot firefighters. You want people to keep you safe and, you know, protect. I mean, that's what I got to think about. Every time I get angry about how much taxes I pay, I'm like, okay, I live in a country that is safe. I live somewhere that I know, like, I'm going to be taken care of. Think about other countries. They don't have it as good as we do. Yeah. Yeah, just to a point. Hmm. Who collects taxes? What do you call that branch of the government? The IRS, which is known as the Internal Revenue Service. Revenue stands for money, right? Internal Revenue Service. When are taxes due by? April 15th. Yep, that's tax day.
Oh God, it's my birthday.
April 15th? Happy tax day. Yeah, Nina.
Show up at the police station or anything, and then when you answer, it connects you to the IRS.
Really? Oh, I've never heard of that before. All right. Well, at least you were, you know, taking in all the info given to you, right? All right. So when you have to file your taxes, you have to tell them what your filing status is. Okay, filing status, you can abbreviate this however you want for your own notes, guys. Filing status is a description of your marital and family status on the last day of the year. So on December 31st, what was your status? Okay, you have to indicate your filing status on your tax return, and the choices, you have 4 choices: single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, or head of household. And depending on which you claim puts you in a different column on the tax brackets for how much money they take out from you. Which one do you think they take the most out of? Single male? You don't have to say if you're single male or female, just single. There's less dependence. Yeah, obviously if I have 17 children, they're going to take less money from me, right? I need my money to feed my kids. So if you're single, they're going to take more from you versus if you have kids. If you adopt, you actually get all kinds of tax credits. Yeah. Big time. Yeah, you make all. I bet my one friend who has adopted a son, she made like $20,000 one year from her taxes for adopting. Yeah, she made all kinds of money. Your name is Bob? It's a great name. It's my husband's name. All right, so what does it mean if you're single? What classifies you as single? Not alone. Not married. Okay, you're not married. Now, it doesn't just mean single. It means I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. It means I'm not married. There's a difference, okay? Married filing jointly. So if I'm married, what's it mean to file jointly? Together. We're combining our income together. Married people fill out one tax return together. And I will tell you, we've looked at, my husband and I, if we would file separately, each file our own, versus if we would file them together, we almost always get more money back when we file together versus separate. And they make more if they file separate? And I wonder, it depends on how much money you're making, which like category you're falling into, versus also how many kids you have, like who's claiming the kids. So obviously married filing separately. Married people file 2 separate returns. Which is really nice though, like with technology anymore, when you file your taxes, you can do it all online. So everything's on the computer, so you can quickly look at which one's a better option. Like I always use TurboTax every year, and it will automatically run the numbers versus if we file separate versus if we file married together jointly. So every year that we've done it, it's been in our interest to do it filing together. Oh, really? Huh. What about head of household? It would still be married. You have the most income. It's actually people who are not married, but you have additional people, you have kids. Say you're a single mom. You would be a head of household. Okay? Because I'm not married. Even if you're married, but only one person works, you would still do married filing jointly. Just your spouse would have nothing. Okay? Yeah. If you're divorced and have kids, but then you got remarried, you would have to see what would be your better option. Head of household as filing separately. Actually, I don't think you could because you'd be married then. You'd have to do married filing separately because you'd be married. It all depends on your marital status on the last day of the year. What? There is a lot to it. To do it all by myself, I always doubt myself. That's why I'm glad I have TurboTax who asks me a million questions to make sure I did it right. All right, your annual tax changes as your blank changes, as your income changes. If your annual income changes, that's how much your tax changes. All right, to find the tax on your taxable income, you use a tax table or a tax schedule. A tax table, if you open up your booklet, all of those pages of craziness inside that booklet, those are tax tables. You would literally find where you fall income-wise, go across to whatever column you are, and you would find how much you're being taxed. Tax tables are easier because you'd literally just find your row, find your column, there you go. But then the tax schedules, I believe I have those in the back of that for you. Tax schedules, if you guys flip to the back pages, you have computation worksheet and stuff. These are your schedules in here. So your schedules, you can do it on these last two pages. These are your schedules. You're going to have to do a little math. And honestly, the math is not that big of a deal. A little bit of algebra. Okay, and then you can do your tax schedules. And if you make over 100,000, that's where you have to go to the tax schedules. Okay. Now, if you're married filing jointly, then you would add your incomes together, and if that's over 100,000, then you'd have to use the tax schedule. All right, so here we go. Example 1A. Ron is single. He is using an IRS tax form and calculates his taxable income as $51,482. The instructions tell him to use the tax table to determine his taxes. How much does Ron owe in taxes? So we're just using the tax table. I actually have it right here on the page, so you don't have to look at your booklet right now. All right, so you'd find his income. So if you guys look at I want to make sure you're clear on how this is read. So right up here it says your taxable income is at least this first number, meaning it could include that, but less than the second number. Because if you look, it goes 51,000 to 51,050, then it starts 51,050 on the next line. So if I made 51,050, would I fall in the first line or the second line? If I made exactly 51,050. I'd fall on the second line because this says it has to be less than that number. If I make 51,050, I'd have to fall here, at least that much. So that means it's included, but less than, it means you can go up to that number, but you can't be that number. Okay, I want to make sure you're clear on how to read on that table part. And then you have your single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, or head of households. And then this tells you how much tax you pay. So if we look at this one, 51,482, he's going to fall right here where it's circled for you. And then he is single. So you'd go over to the single column, come down $9,213. So that's how much he would be taxed for the year on his income. Now, does that mean he has to write a check right then and there for $9,213? No, because what's the government doing every single paycheck? Taking taxes out. Yeah. Now, what happens is people always say they get a tax return, they get money back when they file their taxes. It's because they've paid too much every time. And then if that's what they owe and they've paid in $11,000, they're going to get money back. That's how they get tax returns, is you've paid too much every single paycheck. I believe so. If you're under 18, you should get it all back. Yay. Yeah. Probably, but once you turn 18, I believe things change.
Doesn't mean
Mm-hmm. When's your birthday? Yeah, before the end of the year, you're going to turn 18. Granted, you'll probably get most of that back. All right, 1B, determine the tax for each of the filing status taxable income amounts listed. So, same idea, how much tax would they owe? If they are head of household and they made $51,779, let's try to read that tax table for me. Figure out how much tax would they have to pay. Let me find it. 8,006. Because again, it'd be 51,779 is going to fall here. And then if he's head of household, you'd have to go over to that column, and there it is. All right, how about married filing jointly, and I made 51,223. Good. 6,881. So 51,223 falls in here. And if they're married filing jointly, there it is. Make sense how to read the tax table? Pretty easy. Express the tax table line that would be used in compound inequality notation. There's a blast from Algebra 1. For a taxable income of 51,777. We're going to make this real easy on you guys, okay? So it's looking for some kind of notation. Obviously, got some algebra going on here. For a taxable income of 51,777. So let's find that in the table first. 51,777 is going to fall right here. Okay? It's going to fall into that range. So you're going to tell me that your income, I, has to be greater than or equal to which amount? 51,750. And your income has to be less than how much? 51,800. It's literally find which range it falls in, and you were just writing it with I's, standing for your income. Now notice my symbols though. That's going to be a big thing that you're recognizing. And that goes with, do you know how to read that? My income has to be greater than or equal to 51,750. I mean, I can include that number, right? But it has to be less than, not less than or equal to, just less than that number, right? Because if it was equal to that, you'd have to fall down to the next line. So the first one is greater than or equal to, and then it's got to be less than that second number. Does that make sense? You guys with me? I don't believe you. Questions here before I move on? So anytime you're seeing this compound inequality notation, they may call it an income interval, those types of words, that's what it's looking for. All right, so given the filing status and the tax, identify the taxable income interval that was used to determine that tax. Now, if you're going to mess up anywhere in this chapter, it's because you don't read carefully enough. Max? Good morning, sunshine. Can you put your head up, please? Can you sit up, please? Thank you. All right, so they're giving you the tax. They're not giving you their income. You guys with me? That is where you'll mess up if you're going to mess up anywhere. So you got to be careful. Are they giving you the tax or are they giving you the income? So if they're giving me the tax, does that fall in these bolded numbers here or does it fall in this big old table mess? The big old table mess, right? Because this is says your tax is this. So those are my taxes. So they want to know what income interval did they fall under. Well, if you're single, 9,275, so I'm going to go to single, and I'm going to look for 9,275. All right, if you guys see it falls right there. I went single, I went down, I found the tax they listed. That means their income was greater than or equal to 51,700, and it was, income was less than 51,750. So it's those interval numbers. Their income had to be greater than 51,700, and it had to also be less than 51,750. So you're just telling me how much money they had to have made in order to be taxed that amount. So what about head of household? 8,019. So where am I looking? The head of household, right? Fourth one. 8,019. There it is. So I'm over here into that income interval. Right? So their income, I, had to be what? What symbols am I writing down? 51,800. And it also had to be what? Good. So they made somewhere in that range of income in order to have been taxed that amount. All right, so you can work it forwards or backwards. If I give you the income, you can tell me the tax. If I tell you the tax, you can tell me roughly what their income was, right? It had to be within that range. Questions? We okay? We good? We alive? Are we awake? No? All right. Maria and Don are married taxpayers filing a joint return. Their combined taxable income is $153,900. The IRS offers a tax schedule so that taxpayers can calculate their tax. Why would they have to have a tax schedule? Why can't they just use those tables? They make over 100,000. All right, so if they go over 100,000, you can't use the tables. The tables don't exist anymore. Okay, so use the tax schedule below for married taxpayers filing jointly. So again, it would still depend on if you're married, filing jointly, separately, all of those classifications. They'll have different schedules for you based on what you are. All right, so go ahead and find how much tax they're going to have to pay. So I can't just look at a table, go over to the row and find it. I have to do a little math. So again, let's take a look at the schedule. So they're telling you if your taxable income is this. So notice in both the tax tables and the schedule, the first column is always talking about your income, right? Income is always the first part. And then the second part is always the tax. So again, we're going to practice working this table both forwards and backwards, just like we did. Here's the income, tell me the tax. Or here's the tax, tell me the income. Okay? So they're giving me their income. Here's how much money they make. All right, so how much tax do they pay? So take a look. They have that range again, just like we had before. 153,900 is going to fall right in here. Right? It's over 131,450, but not over 200,300. You guys with me? I'm looking for the interval their income falls. So then their tax is, we just have to do what the table says. Okay? It's going to be 25,550 plus 28% of the amount over 131,450, it says. So what do I have to do? I have to subtract. Subtract what from what? You're close. I agree that we have to do, I'm going to run out of space up here. We have to take how much they owe, 153,900 minus what? Yeah, minus the 131,450. I ran out of space, sorry. Right, because it says, they literally tell you exactly what to do. You're going to have this amount plus 28% of the amount over this. Well, how much do they make over that? You just got to subtract their income minus that amount. Could you type that whole thing in your calculator all at once? Yeah, you really can. Just make sure that 28% you put 0.28. So how much tax do they have to pay? Obviously, the more money you make, the more taxes you pay. Somebody figure that out? Perfect. They have to pay $31,836. Okay, so if they give you the income, you look and find their income range and then just do exactly what the table tells you. Right, your tax is $225,550 plus 28% of the amount over. So you just have to subtract and see how much over they are. And again, you can just type it all in at once. All right, now with the tax tables, we worked it both ways, right? I gave you the tax, you went ahead and found the income, and you went back and forth. This is where it gets a little tricky. For what taxable income would a taxpayer have to pay $9,792.25? So what is the $9,000? What is that? Is this income or is this taxes? This is tax. And again, if you're going to mess up anywhere, it's because you're going to mix up whether that's income or whether it's tax. So if that is your tax, now on the tables, I literally went to the column and I found the exact number, right? Does that happen on this? It doesn't happen here. Because if I go to look at my tax, I'm not going to find that number anywhere over here. Is there a number that it's close to but not over? This is my income. This you already established as tax. Here's tax. So does that fit better in the 1605? The 8,962 to 25,000? Do you notice how these are all over? Right? Those are all too much. So would this fall into the 1600 or the 8900? 89. Because guys, I need you to find what is the closest one without going over. It's kind of like, was it Price is Right? Closest without going over wins the showcase. Right? It's kind of where we're at with this. Because this is the closest one without going over that, because it's going to be adding a percentage to it. So it's going to take this base, and I'm going to add 25%, right? So it's going to be a little bit more. Now, come back to the one we just did. Let's kind of set this up the same way. We had said that your income was equal to all of that to find the tax. So how much income did they make? We don't know. Oh, sorry, hold on, I said that wrong. This is your income right here. Right, that was how much they made. So it was, let's write this out in words. Tax equals, and then you have to put in whatever's in the table. So from table, plus, you had some percent that was from the table, being multiplied by the income minus some amount from the table. Right, you got to pull a lot of the numbers out of that table. But your tax was equal to whatever the number from the table was plus a percentage times your income minus the table. That's all of these numbers we just did right up in here. So they told me my tax is $9,792.25 equals, so we already established this was the row it went from. So it'd be $8,962.50 plus, it says 25%, so 0.25. Do we know the income? Nope. That's the part I don't know. Minus the number from the table in this case, 65,100. Before we go any further, I need you guys to talk to me. Do we see where I'm pulling these numbers from? I'm setting it up just like we did the last one. I just don't know how much the income is. So we're going to have to do a little algebra here. So what do I do first to solve that? I probably wouldn't. You could do that. That's probably not where I would start, though. Think back to all your algebra skills. If you see parentheses, what's the first thing you do with them? You're going to distribute. Yeah, we're going to distribute this. So 9,792.25. That's a terrible 2. Equals 8,962.50 plus 0.25x minus 0.25 times 65,100 is 16,275. So I just distributed. From there, do you see we have like terms over here? Combine your like terms. Which part? I just multiplied 0.25 times x, and then 0.25 times 65,100. I got that. So let's go ahead and collect our like terms. We'll do another example like this. So when I collect like terms, we get negative 7,312.50 plus 0.25x. I just put my like terms together at that step. Then what? Think about solving for x. What would you move next? Yeah, we're going to add this to this side. I'll show my work just so we don't lose track of what I'm doing here. All right, so that's going to give you $17,104.75. That's going to be gone. Equals 0.25x. Then divide by 0.25. So x equals $68,419. So what did I find? Their income. So if they made $68,419, they would have to pay a tax of $9,792.25. Would they have had to use this schedule versus the tables? No. Do they make over 100,000? No. So they technically could have used the tables, not the schedule. But we can still use it to solve for it. All right, let's try one more. Add this to your notes, guys. So add this example to your notes. You have room. If you have space right there, I would add it right there. If you don't have space there anymore, if you flip to the back page, you have space at the bottom. There was only one of those problems on here, and I think we need to see another one kind of work through to make sure we understand what's going on. So for what taxable income would a taxpayer have to pay $61,229? So I'm still going to refer back to that table. Let me see if I can copy this table over here. Aha. Ignore the example part. I just wanted you to see the table. All right. I want you to see the table because we're going to need to use that. So for what taxable income would a taxpayer have to pay $61,229? So what is the $61,229? Is that income or taxes? That is taxes. And it's really important that we recognize whether it's income or taxes because that changes how I read a table. So this is tax. All right, so when we go to set this up, we got to first find where this falls on this table. So take a minute, don't say anything out loud. See if you can figure out which line I should be looking at. All right, the tax is $61,229. So which line does that fall in? Lauren? Yeah, perfect. Closest without going over, right? Isn't that what we were looking at? The closest number without going over is the 44,000. 96 is too far over, and the other ones aren't close enough. So closest without going over is the line that's 44,000. We okay? That's taxes. You've got to make sure you know whether you're looking at tax versus income. All right, let's set it up. So the tax should equal, so 61,229 equals, and let's just kind of read this across as we go. So it's going to be 44,828 plus 33% of what? What goes in this parenthesis? X. Perfect. So how hard should that be to set up? Not bad. If you look, and if you can find the right line, if you use the wrong line, obviously it's wrong. Right? Closest without going over, and then literally just kind of write it as you go. Right? I just wrote it down. Plus 33% of the amount over. You just got to remember how we set those up. It's always your income minus that amount. So I don't know the income minus that. I'm literally writing it down as I read it across. Questions on the setup? What's your next step? Distribute. Yep, let's distribute next. So 0.33 times 200,300. 66,099. So I just distributed. Then what do? I'm distributing it. I'm not getting rid of it. I multiply, hon. Just multiply it. Forget that it's a percentage at this point. I'm just solving an equation. We always distribute. What would be your next step? Yeah, you have like terms here. That one and that one. So 44,828 minus 66,099. So negative 21,271 plus 0.33x. Yep, move this over to the other side. So we get 82,500 equals 0.33x. Then what? Just divide 0.33. So they had an income of $250,000. $250,000 right there. Sounds like it's more, doesn't it? 250,000, $250,000. Doesn't $250,000 just sound like you make a lot more? It's the same thing, right? Just sounds cooler. How are we feeling with this? Because I know this is the one, if it's going to trip anybody up, it's these problems right here. So maybe highlight these, circle them, star them, something, so you know to come back and look at these examples and try to follow them through. All right. And then backtrack an example there for me. So go back to that page. I know I made you flip to the back side. All right. So example 3. The IRS includes the tax schedule for information purposes only. For taxable incomes over $100,000, taxpayers must use the tax worksheet or the tax schedule. Okay, same idea. Here is a portion of the worksheet for married taxpayers filing jointly. Calculate Maria and Don's tax using this worksheet. So if you go back to the previous example, example 2 in your notes, notice that was Maria and Don. It's just using the same thing. So on example 2, they gave you the schedule that we looked at and we calculated how much tax, right? Here's the worksheet that if you're filling out your taxes by hand and doing all the paper forms, which they still exist, not everyone does it on computer, this is what you would go to actually calculate it. Okay? And they try to make it foolproof for people who are not so bright. So how much money did Maria and Don make? $153,900, right? So we're going their incomes from example 2. So we found their income was $153,900. That was from example 2. It's just kind of carried on. So let's say this is what they give people for those who are not so bright so they can try to figure this out. Could you figure this out on your own if you're doing your taxes? Read it. Complete the row that applies to you. So if you're Maria and Don and you know that you made $153,900, where would you start? The second line, right? Because it says your taxable income, where do they fall? Well, they fall over $131,450, but not over $200,300, right? So this is where they're going to fall, this line right here. Enter the amount from line 43, which is where you do your income. So how much did they make? $153,900. Multiplication amount times 28%, in parentheses, 0.28. See how they're trying to make this foolproof for you, right? So multiply 153,900 times 28%. And then this is where multiply A times B. This is where you write the answer, which is 43,092. Subtraction amount. Subtract D from C. Enter the result here. So subtract D from C. 31,000, maybe. 31,836. You guys with me? See how they try to make it foolproof for people who aren't so bright? Like, do this, then this, then this. Look at your answer there. Go back to example 2 when we calculated it. We used the schedule instead of the worksheet, right? We were able to read this and figure it out. And then they're like, you know what? Not everyone's going to be bright enough to do that. So they tried to break it down for you to help you out even more. Okay? So it's the same idea. They're just giving you a worksheet to go through step by step versus the schedule where we just read it and did what it said. There's a difference. All right, last one. Davita and John have a taxable income of $118,675. Use the married filing, that says filling instead of filing. That's straight from the textbook that I don't use very often. Married filing jointly worksheet to determine the amounts for columns A and C. What is their calculated tax? So here's the worksheet instead of the schedule where it tells you, trying to be foolproof on how to do this. So if they have a taxable income of $118,675, which row do they fall under? The first one. So enter their amount, $118,675. Multiplication amount, so multiply that by 0.25. $29,668.75. Subtraction amount, subtract D from C, and you should have gotten $22,356.25. So do we like the worksheets? Yeah, they're pretty foolproof. They're like, do this, and then this, and then this. They just break it all down for you. All right, how are we feeling about tax tables, tax schedules, the tax worksheets? We may not like them, but do we understand? Yeah. How important is it to know the difference between income and tax? Important. It depends on which column you're looking at. It changes things, okay?